Treasury Secretary, huge, wide open, more wide open maybe than even yesterday. They got to find jobs for Lutnick and McMahon, the two transition co-chairs. I'll give you a new possibility. Lutnick Commerce, McMahon Education.
How about this? Lutnick,
Bessent,
ambassador to the court
Bessent,
of St. James.
maybe. Bessent and NEC, Treasury TBD, but a big name. I'm not predicting that. I'm not reporting that's what's happening, but I'm just putting those chess pieces on the board. Sean, if you were advising someone who was up for both Treasury and NEC, which is the better job?
Depends on your ego.
In this administration, which is the better job?
Depends on your ego. I think that NEC is more powerful, has more sway, more connection. I mean, it's sort of like the NSC to the DOD, right? You're actually calling the shots, but it's pretty cool to have your own plane and to fly around and be the Secretary of Defense. And so if you want your name on money and all of the trappings that go with the Secretary of the Treasury and the historic, lineage that accompanies that.
Great office.
Oh, huge office. And so if that's who you are, but if you want a power base and you actually want to affect change, then NEC is more powerful. But
correct.
I think
100% correct. And that's why all this focus on Treasury is silly. NEC is the person in the Oval Office nonstop with the president. Secretary of Treasury is the guy or gal stuck in Jakarta at some international finance minister meeting.
Yeah, but I think that when you look at the people who've had these jobs, right? So like Stephen last Trump, I mean, like he was perfectly suited for that. Like he was obviously really smart when it came to finance, but like they're very accomplished people. Having a job where you fly around the world representing the United States is pretty cool.
It's a great job, but if you want to affect the policy of the administration the first 200 days, you're better off being an NEC.
Right, but it's a difference between being a staffer and being a cabinet member, and that's
I can't cut my line.
I'm telling you, there's an ego aspect of this.
There is, but all I'm saying is, if somebody asked me, I would say, do you want a plane and a nice office and to fly around and meet with the foreign minister of Jakarta, or do you want to be influencing what the government actually does and spending time with the president, influencing him on decisions? Treasury's like 200 yards away. It might as well be a million miles. Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to say it's kind of like a king versus prime minister. And if you really do want to impact change and be involved in the granular nature of decision making, look, the other thing is, given that Trump's White House usually has some very sharp elbows, like, do you want to be in the room with the knife, in your hand and coming in your back? Or do you want to show up in the Hamptons and say you're the Treasury Secretary and you were just in, London or Paris, and when you get out of office, if your goal is to, this is crass, monetize your experience, you'd way rather be the Treasury Secretary with all the global relationships than the person who knows the inner workings of the tax deal.
Well, and this is why I said it goes back to ego. I remember when I was the communications director for the conference under Bush, and we get a call that says, hey, the NEC can come over and brief members or the staffers, and we'd be like, okay, so who is that? And they'd say, or the Treasury Secretary, and everyone would be like, great, we'll sit. I mean, there is a flashy piece of this that's a lot more appealing. Again, same thing with NSA versus DOD. Like the SecDef may not have the influence inside the building that NSA does, but you have a much nicer little entourage and fly around the world in two planes.
It's fantastic, and enjoy Jakarta. Sean, who do you think Treasury Secretary and head of NSC are going to be at this point, or do you not know?
I mean, I think that the narrative is that Lutnick is sort of trying to find a role. I will say the dark horse in my mind is still Lighthizer. He was very loyal to Trump. He executed the tariff policy and the trade policy very, very well. Everybody likes Robert, and he's also well liked in the community. I mean, he's built a career. Everyone may not agree with him, but he's a very smart guy, very well liked guy, and he's able to affect change without, doing it in an abrasive way. So he's a dark horse. I still think the front runner for Commerce is Linda McMahon. I mean, I know you're shaking your head there.
No, my subtle head shakes.
I know.
Howard to Commerce. Howard to Commerce. Write it down. All right.